Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into our future with AI. And this is one of those topics that feels like it's straight out of science fiction, but it's not. It's already here, shaping our daily lives in ways we're only just starting to wrap our heads around. So let's get right into it.
Okay, I want you to really picture this for a second. Imagine you're in a self-driving car. The machine, this thing with trillions of data points, it says, go ahead, the turn is safe. But your gut, every single instinct in your body is screaming, no, stop. Who do you trust? This isn't just some far-off puzzle. It's the central question of our time. It's that daily tug-of-war between automated systems and our own human intuition.
So let's start on a high note with the most optimistic vision for AI. Forget all the doom and gloom, the Terminator scenarios just for a moment. Instead, let's think of AI as something way more useful, way more personal. Let's think of it as an external battery for your mind.
Now, the key idea here isn't that AI does the thinking for you. It's more like this. You know that feeling when your brain is just tired? When you're about to default to the same old routine? You're basically on autopilot. Well, that's when AI can step in and give you that jolt of power, that fresh spark to break out of the rut and kickstart a totally new line of thought.
And this really gets to the fundamental trade-off. On the one hand, AI can take on all that low-level cognitive work, the tedious, repetitive stuff like scheduling meetings or summarizing long documents that just drains our mental energy. But in return, it gives us something that is incredibly valuable, the actual mental space for the big stuff, for higher-level thinking, creativity, and real human connection.
And what's the result of all that? Well, it frees us up to become what some people are calling super individuals. Think about it. When you don't have to spend your entire day wrestling with a spreadsheet, you can use AI to complement your skills, to fill in the gaps. Suddenly, you're like a one-person army. An administrator with a good eye for design becomes a process architect. A finance clerk who knows the industry inside and out becomes a sought-after business consultant.
Okay, so that's the promise. But there's another side to this coin, a much, much darker vision. If the external battery is the dream, then the modern factory, well, that's the peril.
This is the scenario where our obsession with efficiency just goes way too far. The AI isn't your helpful assistant anymore. It's the factory owner, and it's pumping out an endless assembly line of tasks. And your job? You're not in charge anymore. You're just a high-speed reviewer, a human checkpoint whose only job is to click approve at machine speed. You become, quite literally, a biological screw in a machine you don't even control.
There's actually a name for this process: cognitive offloading. And it's nothing new. We do it all the time when we use a notepad for a shopping list or pull out a calculator for some quick math. But with AI, we're not just offloading memory. We're offloading the actual process of thinking itself. And that has some really serious consequences for our skills.
So this means AI can really work in one of two ways. It can be like a mental exoskeleton, right? Something that helps us lift heavier intellectual loads, making us stronger. Or it can become a mental wheelchair, letting us bypass the effort completely, which causes our cognitive muscles to just waste away.
And look, this isn't just some clever metaphor. This is straight-up neuroscience. Our brains are built on a really simple principle. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Relearning happens in the struggle, in the effort. So when AI just hands us the answer on a platter, it robs us of that struggle. The neurons never fire, those connections are never made, and we start to experience something called cognitive de-skilling. We literally forget how to think for ourselves.
Now, the risk of our brains getting a little rusty is concerning enough on its own, but it becomes a much bigger deal when we realize that AI isn't just a tool anymore. It's evolving into an all-encompassing system, a massive prediction machine that is actively shaping our reality.
The whole game has changed. Early generative AI, it was all about trying to make a picture that looked like a real cat. It was about aesthetics. But the next wave of AI, it's focused on one thing and one thing only: commercial success. It's not about making content that looks real. It's about engineering content that is guaranteed to go viral.
So how in the world does it do that? Well, it's through this relentless, never-ending feedback loop. First, it senses and analyzes what emotions are trending online right now. Then it decides, translating those feelings into creative rules, like what colors to use or how fast the pacing should be. Then it executes, generating the content. And finally, it tests and refines that content over and over and over again, making sure it's a perfectly engineered weapon for capturing our attention.
This table really captures the new reality of creativity. We're moving away from the old blind box model, which was all about human intuition, talent, and, frankly, a bit of luck. And we're moving towards the precision strike model.
This new way of doing things reverse engineers success using real-time data and simulations. And this is a huge deal because it's less like art and more like a calculated surgical strike on our brain's reward system.
So, if AI can automate creativity and logic and technical skill, what's left for us? Well, that brings us to our response, building what some are calling a human moat, a defensive barrier made of skills that are uniquely, deeply, and undeniably human.
I want you to ask yourself this question, and be brutally honest. If someone unplugged every single AI tool you use right now, what professional value would you have left? The skills, the insights, the gut feelings, and the judgments that remain in that silence? That is your moat. Everything else is just becoming a commodity.
So what does this moat actually look like? It's built from what we can call hybrid skills. We're not just talking about hard skills or soft skills anymore, but a fusion of the two. Things like the complex situation analyst who can navigate the messy, irrational human side of a negotiation, or the sensory narrative director who understands aesthetics and emotion, not just data points. And of course, the high-perception emotional therapist who offers the kind of warmth and empathy an algorithm can never, ever truly simulate.
Ultimately, our new role boils down to this really powerful distinction. An AI is a probability engine. It can tell you with incredible accuracy that a certain strategy has a 90% chance of success. But only a human can look at that and decide if the 10% risk of total failure is worth taking. That isn't a calculation, that's a judgment call.
So this all leads us to a fundamental choice we all have to make. In this new world that we are building together right now, are you going to be an architect or are you going to be merely an occupant?
The most practical way to make that choice is to completely reframe how we use these tools. We have to stop using AI as an answer thief that just robs us of the chance to learn. Instead, we have to start treating it like a thinking gym, a place we go to train our cognitive muscles, to push ourselves, and to get stronger.
So what does a workout in the thinking gym actually look like? Well, here are 3 key exercises. Number 1, use AI as a Socratic coach. Don't just ask it for the final answer. Ask it to ask you questions that will lead you to the answer yourself. 2, practice prompt engineering like it's a form of critical thinking. A really good prompt is basically a well-defined hypothesis. And 3, go on hallucination hunts. Get the AI to write something, and then your job is to actively hunt for the subtle, weird errors it makes. This trains your brain to stay sharp and vigilant.
At the end of the day, the choice in front of us is pretty clear. We can become passive button pushers, mindlessly accepting whatever the machine gives us and slowly losing our ability to think for ourselves, or we can choose to be active architects, using these incredible tools with purpose and intention to design our work, our thinking, and our world.
And so I'll leave you with one last question to chew on. We've all gotten so used to the algorithm feeding us this endless stream of content and ideas and answers. But if one day it all just stopped, if the feed went blank, would you still remember how to search,